So I'm going to start this video off by demonstrating this musical instrument that I've created. This musical instrument is a little bit on the weird side of things, but I want to share it because I want to use it as a jumping off point to talk about some things that I'm really interested in talking about, which is how can we use technology to distribute or to mediate embodied knowledge. And what I mean by embodied knowledge is the type of knowledge that isn't things like text and video and images and audio and stuff like that, but it's the knowledge that is like integrated into your physical presence, right? I do dance, so obviously dance is like a part of that. But embodied knowledge can also mean things like learning proper technique for like exercise, whether that be like rock climbing or deadlifting or whatever, or it could even be, very simple things like changing the ink in your printer or like learning how to cook a particular dish. And this sort of information, once it's integrated into your body, you can just sort of shove in the back of your brain, and you don't need to be thinking about, for example, driving while you're talking. You can do these things at the same time for the most part. And that's what I mean by embodied knowledge. So in what ways can technology help us with that embodied knowledge? So I'm just going to stop blabbing about all this theory, and I'm just going to move on to the demo. Welcome to my ridiculous demo. What you see is a little bit of the code that's driving the demo, as well as my face in a window in front of that code. And in front of my face is a bunch of little vertical lines. Each vertical line corresponds to a different note on the chromatic scale. And in order to play the notes on this chromatic scale for my ridiculous demo, I must employ the use of my ridiculous glove. This is an LED glove. It's a glover's glove. Gloving is a type of dance that's very closely related to liquid, which is the form of dance I'm most familiar with. And I've been following this dance practice for quite some time, both as a liquid practitioner and also because I think gloving has something really interesting to say about how human beings may be able to interact with computers simply through the use of their hands. Now, usually when glovers have these gloves, they code them so that each individual finger has a bunch of crazy flashy lights and they're mixed and matched together. I didn't want that for this particular use case because what I wanted is for the computer to be able to easily individually recognize each finger. The reason I want to do that is so that I can create music. So here I have it so that the computer can recognize red and blue so that it knows index finger and thumb, and when those things are together, it makes a tone. The closer they are together, the louder that tone is. And if I want to drag that tone a higher pitch and a lower pitch, I just drag it right and left on the scale. Now, I do have 4 fingers that can get close to the thumb. This is the tone, this is the octave of the tone, and this is the 3rd and the 5th making full major chords, right? All right, I'm going to finish this demo off by playing a song for you. Lucky you. This song will very much not be in tune because I'm not that good at this instrument. And I think it's about half the fun of this instrument, to be honest. But hopefully it'll be in tune enough for you to understand what the song is. All right, here we go. So that's the wacky demo. Hope you enjoyed it. Before I talk a little bit about the theory, I do want to call out some prior research that is definitely out there. There's this thing called the theremin that's been around for a really long time, where there are these 2 metal coils that if you get close to one, it adjusts the pitch of the noise, and if you get close to another, it adjusts the volume of the noise. After I started coding this thing, I was like, oh yeah, this is actually kind of similar to a theremin. I looked around online, and people have already done video theremins before. I feel like what I'm bringing to the table here that's new is the idea of pairing that with these LED gloves. Because these LED gloves give you the ability to have a really high level of expressivity and a lot of precision across 10 different LEDs. And that's not proven by me, that's proven by all these glovers This is a very rich dance community of people who've been doing this for many, many years. And the level of skill and articulation that you have, obviously in your fingers with like ridiculous dexterity, is super high. So it's really exciting to have this idea that one could program space with like 10 points of light. And I think this points a little bit to the idea that I was talking about earlier with regards to embodied knowledge, because you have these glovers, these dancers, these finger dancers, who can do super crazy finger manipulations. I wonder how possible it is to take some of those movements and to juice it so that the essential aspects of some of the core fundamental pieces, not like the whole practice by any means or all of the context around it by any means, but just the mechanical aspects of doing something like this. Can we use this technology to install that movement inside the brains of someone who's interacting with it? So to demonstrate that, I want to show you another part of this demo that I've created. So the intent here is that it's supposed to teach you how to move your fingers according to a particular pattern. Here you have these little lines that annotate where your fingers ought to go on the screen. And then when you meet that match, the screen flashes and then it places the targets somewhere else. So using this, you could probably potentially use this as sort of like a training mechanic to teach people how to do a dance sequence. Now, I do want to say that in many ways, this idea that you use technology to communicate dance is clearly not like a new idea, right? Like TikTok, all it is like somebody creating a dance and then that dance proliferates as a meme. And I feel like I'm slipping into a little bit of a Pandora's box here because, like, what does it mean to mediate embodied knowledge? Like, I think I got to give a little bit of context here. So as of late in the dance world, you've been seeing that these companies are using dance content, and you have these dancers who are not getting any credit. Claiming ownership of a dance move sequence is actually really complicated in today's day and age. And I think this question of how we do that is going to become way more negotiated the more and more technology is able to peer in and extract value from movement sequences. And that's not at all what I want to do as someone who comes at this first as a dancer. But at the same time, I do want to help proliferate dance sequences that I think are super cool and dance ideas that I think would be really nice to install in other people's brains and bodies as well. I don't really have clear answers, but I guess I have some explorations. So I will just leave my code out there, because I do think that net it is a positive. And I'm also going to like point to one other project that I've done in the past that I think very much touches on these themes. And the project is called asdfjklsemi. And what it does is it takes any YouTube video and creates a rhythm game off of it based on what one person can input. That project is about one person being able to encode choreography on one end to music, and then to be able to send that package to somebody else and have them decode that choreography and mimic the original person, right? And I think, like, if you look at how sophisticated those choreographies can get, and you think about, this staircasing mechanic and how simple it is, and how sophisticated this could get, maybe it can be this kind of stuff, or like, really large or crazy abstract things, like perhaps, this technology can assist with like really wacky dances, or even in a more practical sense, maybe some version of this will be applicable for really practical things like changing the ink on your printer or like chopping vegetables for dinner. So yeah, I guess that's sort of all I want to talk about. I'll post links to to a few things below in the description. First is the project code that I have for what you saw in my little demo earlier. That code right now is just awful. It's like really embarrassingly bad. I will either post it as it is or I will clean it up a little bit. Another thing I will post is a link to asdfjklsemi, so you can, if you want to, try out some choreography that some people have made, or you can build your own choreography and send it to me and see if I can get a high score on it. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and yeah, hit me up with comments or questions, and looking forward to hearing from y'all. Cool. Peace.